All right. Hopefully we'll be back. Are we back? There we go. All right. All right, what is happening, everybody? I do apologize about that. That was a new tech issue that we'll just have to keep an eye on until the proper internet's installed in a couple of weeks. So if we get any signal drops or anything like that, I can only apologize. And yeah, night 2, we're back. Now, before we get into tonight, tomorrow night we're going to be looking. We're getting another. I'm getting another warning here. This is really frustrating. Give me 1 minute. No, this one should clear up. It's happening again. Okay, fuck's sake. We're just gonna ride this one out, everybody. It should stabilize after this. It should stabilize. Yeah, it is. Yeah, freezing bad. Okay. All right, no probs. If for any reason, right, this persists tonight, we can sort of smash together tomorrow night and tonight into one, and we can just see how we get on this evening. So tomorrow night, I think it would be really interesting. It just now says no data. Are we still live? It's jumping again, isn't it? Nah, it's fucked. Hang on a minute. Okay, working now. Yeah, sorry about this, everybody. Like I say, it'll be a little bit iffy until we get the proper internet installed. How you doing, Donna? How you doing, SARS? Bunny, Shishi, K-Buck, James. Holden Official, what is happening? Dude, we're going to get to the... Tomorrow night, we're talking about the church in France. And a lot of theories, elitist theories, shall we say, about Balenciaga. And we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the company who owns Balenciaga. And that's one of the things we're going to be touching on tonight. But nice to have you here, man. Damon Williams. Leanne, what is happening? It's fine, don't touch it, you're good. Okay, well, like I say, I can only apologize for if this is going to be a little bit stuttery or whatever. Cheers to anybody who's got a little Baileys. So, as I explained yesterday, this is a new thing that I'm doing where I do a series. We do it live, and it's me kind of filming segments for content. I'm going to download it, I'm going to cut the segments out that are relevant and put it all together into one sort of feature-y piece of content. So yeah, what's happening, Adele? What is happening? Militant Mushroom, what is happening? So, we're going to jump into this in just a minute. I just want to say one more time, I said this last night, but the support last night was incredible. Last night was amazing. Even afterwards on Twitch was fantastic. And it feels really good to sort of slide back into what we were doing. So yeah. But Discord is the next thing for us to sort out. Because a lot of you have been asking about that. want to get back to the community side of things, and I'm totally down for that. It won't be run by myself. It'll be run by a team of admins and things like that, but we'll definitely be able to, you know, do some shenanigans. So tomorrow night we're delving into the church in France. We're delving into some of the theories about Balenciaga, and I don't want to use the word conspiracy, but I want to use some theories. Let's just say theories. But tonight we're delving into the next image. We're going to go back and have a look at the Adidas Balenciaga crossover, and dive a little bit into what Balenciaga are doing. We mentioned last night they should be held accountable, and the people there should be held accountable. So we're going to look at the scapegoats that have been left hung out to dry by Balenciaga, and how I believe they are hanging someone out to dry because the public want blood, but ignoring the internal issues that created this entire problem. So we're going to get onto that in just a minute. Oh, look at that, Mr. Frickin' Atwood. How are you, mate? Good to see you. So just before we do that, I'm just going to continue to have a little chat with you for a couple of minutes, if that's all right, and change this music up a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to smoke a bit of my ciggy before we get started. Are we buffering again? No, I think we're good. All right, guys, we've got 45 people here. If we can try and get the likes up to 40, that would be great. So yeah, but good to see you, Sean. Thanks for coming in, brother. Ellis, fantastic to see you too. Absolutely fantastic. Phil, how you doing? Jamie, Arkman, how you doing? What is happening? All right, we might be buffering again, guys. We might be buffering. Yeah. YouTube fucking loves Ron. What are you talking about? YouTube loves Ron. Oh, that's awesome. So, everything wrong. Yeah, it was, yeah. But listen, we're clawing our way back. And remember, everything that we'd done up to a certain point is still available on projectrook.com. For those of you who weren't here last night, this is my new website, my new brand, my new everything. And this is it here. So we've got the Surviving Life video that's on the channel already, if you haven't seen that. But it catches up. Okay. We've got the announcement for what we're doing this evening, and of course the Decahegi, plus all the old content. Just sitting there, waiting to be binged. All right, no buffering. Okay, we're good. All right. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, let's get stuck into this. You should be able to comment. I can see your comments. Okay, so let me turn the music off. All right. So previously we spoke about how I feel it's the response of the people connected to Balenciaga, the people that are responsible for this, that we should be directing our attention to, and how online cancel culture seems to differ from mainstream cancel culture when it is such a massive company. And it's interesting because there has been two of the models that were used for the campaign. Give me 1 minute. So Bella Hadid and Nicole Kidman, right? Hollywood's liberal elite main silent on child imagery scandal. So let's just have a little look at this. Because yesterday I pointed out the fact that people publicly step away from brands, from individuals when things like this happen in cancel culture. But we've seen silence across the majority of the board from the people we want to hear from, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's influencers. Kim Kardashian made a statement, and a few others have made statements, and some models have even removed their images from their social media platforms. But really, is that enough? Now, it would be silly for me to turn around and say, well, please, my viewers, boycott Balenciaga. I've not got anything by Balenciaga. You know, it's not in my price bracket. It's not in my price category. So it's not as simple as traditional cancel culture when it comes to a company like Balenciaga. Now, I think it's really interesting that there isn't more people on public outcry for the representatives of Balenciaga to step away and to completely cut ties. Taking down a single image, removing a single campaign, and then going into damage control isn't really good enough. I feel like those who are paid to represent this company need to step away in the same way as everyone alienated Johnny Depp. Everyone, I mean, he lost everything on the run up to that court case. So why is it not the same for Balenciaga? Does that make sense? All right, give me 1 second. Now, they've went on the defense and are now blaming this on a third party. Now, there's a big difference between low-end marketing budgets and teams and high-end budget marketing teams. It's not a case of making a phone call saying, hi, it's Balenciaga. Do you fancy whipping together a campaign for us? Let's say, for argument's sake, that's exactly what happened. Let's say someone at Balenciaga said, can you whip up an ad campaign? No problem. As soon as that ad campaign is put together, no matter how crazy it is, it starts trickling through a system of approvals and ticking boxes and all the rest of it. This campaign is no different. And we need to keep that in mind. So Balenciaga, excuse me. Balenciaga explains why child abuse ruling was in shoot, blaming third party. Now, there's been another development in Balenciaga child abuse controversy. The Fashion House has issued another apology and has given an explanation to how text from a US Supreme Court ruling on child abuse material was included in the campaign. Now, this is a lot easier to just slip in there, okay? This image here, I believe, is where they can focus the attention on passing the blame, and 90% of the people aren't going to realize that it's two different photographers, multiple individuals involved in this campaign, and they'll believe that when this case goes to court, it covers everything, and it doesn't. It doesn't at all. So let's just say for a second that the photographer slipped that in, allegedly. Okay, to be edgy, to whatever. I personally don't think so. I think this is a orchestrated and symbol-based tactic used by the elites to rub our noses in what we all know is going on. And it's sick. It really, really is sick. And it's interesting when you find out that Balenciaga was founded in Spain, but Balenciaga is owned by a massive French company that also owns Yves Saint Laurent and owns Gucci. They own a lot of different businesses that all tie into elitists and the wealthy. And there's been a few problems within each of these brands over the years, whether it's personal issues with upper echelons of the staff or imagery like this being publicized. As I said earlier, tomorrow we're going to be looking into the theories and the more unprovable but highly relevant facts that tie all this together. Excuse me. So like I've said, when it comes to passing the buck and publicly hanging someone, it's important that we keep in mind that these companies are smart, and foresight is something that these companies have. Get out clauses. Even people that smuggle, suitcases full of drugs from one country to another, if they're smuggling 10 suitcases, they're planning on 7 to 8 of them getting caught, and then 7 people slipping past. Yeah, just let me know when we're back, guys. Just let me know if we're back. I do apologize. We're back. Okay, good. Sorry about this, everybody. I can assure you that this will be fixed over the next couple of weeks. It sucks that it's happening in the middle of such an important set of streams. Now, here is a weird shizzle. So, there was an artist, okay? This is where it gets really... This is where it gets awfully... Oh, we're buffering again. Capitalism demand. Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one, man. What's happening, Jiho? Yeah, we'll get there, man. We'll get there. We're starting off easy. We're starting off easy. Just let me know if we're still live, and then I'll rattle. If you don't mind. It's all right. I'll wait. Miss Wells, what's happening? We're spot on. Right. Okay. Right. So, in the same set of photography, and this is a French model that's in this. I can't remember. She's French, and there's a book in the background here of a guy called Michael Bormans, and he's an artist, right? This is him here. But I mean, look at this. Look at these. I mean, listen. Painting something fucked up, painting something horrible or disturbing or really just weird, okay? Doesn't really mean anything. Like, do you know what I mean? But why? A few words and it buffers. Oh, man. All right, can you guys hear me now? What I'm going to do is if you all promise to stay here, I'll try and fix... All right, for the love of fuck. Tell me that we're back. Tell me some fucking positive news, people. Tell me something good. Thank fuck with that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna see how this goes. Okay, I think I realized what the problem is, and I've managed to fix it now. So I do apologize. Yeah, but it should be a lot better now. But we'll see. We shall see. So. Let's just give it a minute and then we'll get back into the swing of this. Who have we still got in here? Who stuck around through the madness there? House of Sass, what is happening? Susan, what's happening? James, Dirty Mackenstein, Asha, K-Buck, Patrick, Black Sheep, what is happening? Our man Ellis. Neil McKinney, what is happening? J.O. Mrs. Wells. Phil Kent, what's happening, mate? Bunny, what's happening? I have to say, so many of the old crew. I like it. Let me just... post something here. Okay. All right. So again, apologies about that. So let's just jump back into this. I'm so fucking warm this evening. Like, so fucking warm. Okay, so we're looking at this artist, Michael or Michel Boramas. And this is the name on the book in the background. And again, these things don't just magically appear in places for no reason. This individual's artwork is very strange. You can see it's got very menacing sort of tones. Some people have pointed out the similarities in the Balenciaga fashion shows, and of course, this artist's art. It's very shocking, and again, it was kind of like when there was that pizza conversation going on, and one of the individuals, a political brother of two, had some really bizarre artwork cast in bronze hanging from his rooftops. And there was some very bizarre artwork hanging within the pizza restaurant in itself. And again, it has to be a profilable characteristic now. Like these are repeating patterns that are happening around the world within groups of elitists that are being pulled up for the same subject and the same issues. Now, Balenciaga trying to create a court case, give us a fall guy. And here's what they're saying. Balenciaga suing production company for 25 million. 25 million doesn't seem like a lot. Like, I'm not being funny, but that doesn't seem like a lot of money when you consider how much it's going to cost for the global campaign to go out. So that's very interesting, first of all. And again, they're really only suing over the one image. It's just that one image where there is a Supreme Court, text. Now, the reason for that is you can hold that up, and that is factual. You can see the text on the screen. You can read it. It's there. Everything else that has caused this controversy is all based on perception, how the public have perceived something. There's nothing illegal going on here. There's no horrific acts being conducted on children. It's our perception and how we are revolted by anything that connects adult interaction and children together. But yet that's not mentioned in the outline of the court case. Whether that's because public perception and provable context are two different things, I don't know. But I think it's really interesting, again, when a company like Balenciaga, I feel, is doing so little to right the wrongs of what has happened here. They need to be looking within themselves. They need to be looking within the internal workings of Balenciaga. Now, we're going to move on. Just give me 1 minute, people. Okay, so a little bit of sort of, the facts about Balenciaga. Oh shit, that's the wrong button. So I think it's really important that we understand where the base of operations is. Okay, the base of operations for this company is France. The buck stops in France. Okay, this is where, and again, don't get it twisted. We're not talking about the same concept of, you know, a manager in a shop who's capable of walking around the shop and seeing what's going on. We're talking about massive global companies, and the mothership for this is in France, which, funnily enough, is the second point of this entire series. Because companies like Balenciaga, individuals who create these cinematic movies, whether it's cuties or other very, very close to the bone movies that contain relations or subjective relations in adults and children, are in France. And France isn't just a standout nation, and this is just me saying this only exists in France. It doesn't. But the fact of the matter is, up until a couple of years ago, a 13-year-old could consent to having sex in France. At one point, you could fuck your own. At one point, you could have an incestual relationship, consenting incestual relationship. It's bonkers. Now, I can take it one step further. At one point, there technically wasn't an age of consent. It was just at 13 years old, you're expected to take responsibility for yourself in France. So that was when the age of consent was from. But if you were to sleep with somebody who was 12 and they consented to it, there wouldn't necessarily be an issue. Which I think is crazy. Now, when I condense this down into content, I will be double and triple checking facts. But that's what I read today and over the last couple of days. So, Fox News, you heard it in the trailer, Fox News in a very outward spoken news broadcast on the whole subject, where basically they laid out the fact that this was nothing short of promoting child abuse content and relations with children. Personally, I think that is exactly what the reaction from every news outlet should have been. Because give me another explanation for what we've been looking at. It's weird that the only thing that actually makes sense is when you think of elitists pushing this in our face. That makes total sense. Like, you can sit back and go, oh, right, yeah, those little elitist scamps. Do you know what I mean? It makes sense. But nothing else makes sense. Because there's systems in place, huge systems in place to ensure that these public relations issues don't manifest, especially through marketing campaigns. So it's interesting. A lot of people, journalists and things like that are in the fashion world, have been posting about the fact that backlash isn't going to stop Balenciaga. Nothing is going to halt fashion. Nothing is going to halt. In a way, it's kind of like, think about how much bad press heroin has. Okay? But people, still dive in. Public opinion isn't going to change if that is what you crave. And don't get it twisted. There's people with vaults, handbag vaults in their house because they've got $2 million worth of handbags. It's an interesting concept when you look at what Balenciaga and other brands like that fuel within the consumer. And then you consider that factor when we sit here shocked at how uncancelable Balenciaga is. Scandal won't change that, as it was put. And I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree that there's just a certain level and a certain type of business that fuels the elitists, that it doesn't matter what we think. You know, does the big whale swimming about at the top of the ocean give a shit about the little prawn at the bottom? No. All the little prawns in the world could just disappear tomorrow, and it really wouldn't affect Balenciaga's bottom line that much. The counterfeit Balenciaga market would die out overnight, however. I just want to point that out. So, I'm just going to take a little moment just now to have a cigarette. Just give me 1 second. So, again, this isn't just a localized issue in France. But the problem is, we're going to be moving on to talk about my points that I raised yesterday about the mindset making the man. About when we look at abusers and predators, we question what has happened to them to justify what it is they've done and rationalize what it is they've done. Because we as humans don't want to consider normal people capable of this. But it's interesting when you apply that process to an entire country. And mindset makes the man, and the surroundings that you grow up in influences who you are. The things that have happened to you influence who you are. But when it comes to businesses and society and culture, it's the country that does that. Whether it's the fashion, whether it's art, whether it's literature or film, if you've got a country that is incredibly lack-hearted in repercussions for those that promote this mindset, then surely they're a product of their surrounding. It's almost like when we spoke yesterday about, in fact, no, we're not going to speak about that this time. I'm moving on to that in a minute. But this mindset being instilled from a young age is a hard concept to believe. Now, I'm working a case, you'll hear all about it soon. And this case that I'm working has a family where for over 15 years this family have abused one individual from when she was 5. Sorry, that's nonsense. She's been abused since she was 5. She's in her 40s now. But there was a period where she was being abused in front of this toddler. And this toddler was one of the grandchildren of the abuser. And the abuse went on so long that 15 years later, she was tied up. And that toddler is now 15 years old and is told to abuse her. And he was created. He was systematically created by a monstrous family. It's unreal. And again, you'll hear all about that case, but when you think, would people instill that in their children? Yeah, I've now seen it. Oh, Mac, Gabby, what's happening? What's happening? Now, the next thing we're going to just dive into, right, is a petition, okay, of open letters that was published in 1977. This is from France, okay, and there's just some things I want to read. Just want to read this here. So, an open letter signed by 69 people, and so including Jean-Paul Santerre and a whole bunch of other French people, was published in Le Monde in 1977 on the eve of the trial of 3 Frenchmen, all accused of having sex with 12 and 13-year-old boys and girls. 2 of them had been in temporary custody since 1973, and the letter referred to this fact as scandalous. The letter claimed there was a disproportion between the qualification of their acts and the crime and the nature of the reproached acts, and also a contradiction since adolescents in France were fully responsible for their acts from the age of 13. The text also, I don't know what that says, that if the 13-year-old girls in France had the right to receive the pill, then they should also be able to consent, arguing the right of a 13 and 12-year-olds to have relations with whomever they choose. So that was what was in place up until like a year ago. Okay? And just let that sink in. Because this is a nation. This isn't a website. This isn't a clubhouse. This was a nation's mindset. So imagine if this was what they were just starting in the US and UK now, how long it would take to groom us into thinking this is normal. So when this is pre-instilled as normal, what hope is there? And again, I'm not justifying anyone's actions. I'm fascinated by the fact that I believe that France has created a system for elitists and religious figures, people in power, to feed habits, whether it's incestual necrophilia or pedophilia. And they've ignored it for decades and decades. Now, I want to touch on something that we spoke about yesterday, which was, what's it called? The National Foundation of Political Science, which is the institute that educates, trains, and grooms into power all the political figures in France. And there was a hashtag, #MeTooIncest, and it was to raise awareness on how much abuse takes place within families in France, again, based off of the law and the legal system. So let's just take a look at that. Oliver Dumel, French incest allegations prompts victims to speak out. This was last year, okay? Tens of thousands of people have responded to social media campaign in France designed to shed light on the problem of sexual abuse within families. The campaign, featuring the hashtag #MeTooIncest after the Me Too movement, was started over the weekend by Noise Toots, an organization battling sexual violence in France. Incest in France is used to mean sexual abuse by relatives, including those who are not related by blood, so step siblings. It followed accusations against the prominent political committer Oliver Dumel, who has been accused by his stepdaughter of abusing her twin brother 30 years ago. Mr. Dumel described the allegations as personal attacks. Now, this is the thing. Out of a lot of the European countries, there is some very strange laws. Like, for example, in France, there's a law called the Romeo... Hang on a second. So in France, there's a law called the Romeo and Juliet law. So it means that if the age of consent is 14 and two 13-year-olds fall in love and have consensual sex with each other, that's totally fine, okay? I'm not really going to dig into that just now. It's not really something I'm going to have an opinion on right this very second. But laws like that, for example, create another set of issues where that could be manipulated in many ways by individuals who might want to capture those moments, if you will. And that's another issue, because France is seeing a huge spike in child prostitution. And I mean, huge spike. And this has been, again, this is just from last year. This isn't 10 years ago. This is what's happening now. And I believe this is happening now because they're 70 years ahead of us in the grooming process of their nation. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, come on guys, smash that like button. Let's get up to 50 likes if we can, guys. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Okay, so before we move on to the prostitution bit, I'm sorry I keep smoking. I'm getting there with getting back into my flow with all of this. But I think it's very, very interesting when we think to ourselves, what if what we are seeing here is a result of 70 more years of conditioning than the nations that we're all from? Because I think it's incredibly fascinating. To me, it's fascinating because I genuinely believe that if we looked at data, my point would be proven on multiple points with regards to the conditioning of France as a nation, what elitists feel they can get away with and people in power they can get away with. I mean, it's the level of abuse. We looked at 2 cases yesterday that both contained over 300 victims. Tomorrow night, we're going to be looking at the worst of them all, the Catholic fucking Church. And if you're not already mad, you're gonna be. You're gonna be. We already know the shudderish feeling that we get when we think about the Catholic Church. And again, it's one thing when the Catholic Church protects the Catholic Church. But when there's systems and political influence that's part of that, it creates an impossible system. There's a system in America where if a priest is accused of anything, he's just sent off to another parish and he just disappears into the common pile. You know? It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's jump on to this next part. That's the wrong button, mate. There we go. All right. Okay, so child prostitution in France, part of a border phenomena. French government unveils a 14 million euro plan to tackle the issues of child prostitution, but worldwide efforts must be done to mitigate this threat to children. Okay, you say that, but I refer you back to your incest and your consensual laws. Child prostitution in France took the headlines this week after the Secretary of State, Adrien Touquet, told a press conference that at least 7,000 to 10,000 children were affected by this growing phenomenon. Now, this is the thing. For every 10,000 children there are prostituting themselves in France, there's another 50,000 of them doing whatever they're doing on the internet. One thing that people don't want to talk about is how prevalent some young individuals find facilitating the digital needs of some of these individuals on the dark net, surface net, all these places. I remember seeing a post on a forum on the dark net by 2 brothers out in Germany who were, I think, 14 and 12, and they were more than happy. They were making bank. That's the way they seen it. They were just making cash. You know what I mean? They weren't doing things with each other, obviously, but they were doing things and making money. And it was that was the first time. The reason that sticks in my head is that's the first time I'd ever seen that. I mean, sure, somebody could have put a gun to their head. You know what I mean? It could all just be made up. I get that. But that was the first time I'd seen that, and it really stuck in my brain. And equally as fucked as that, when you read about the sex tourism countries and how some individuals, a percentage of individuals are, forced to send their children out to do horrible things. I remember reading somewhere that there was an interview when one family got enough money to buy a computer so they didn't have to send their kids out anymore. They could just do their kids on the webcam. Can you imagine how different that world is for you to come home excited one day and be like, yes, everybody, I've got a computer, so now the kids only have to do horrific things over the internet. And then you all sit down and celebrate. How far away is that mindset from us? And again, that is poverty. That is a multitude of reasons that have created that mindset. Oh, I'm ranting. Shit. Sorry, everybody. I'm ranting. See, this is the thing. Okay. So, oh, hi. I hear what you're saying. Sick people. Totally agree with you. So let's take away our thought process on and opinions on this. those people, a percentage of those people don't want to be doing what they're doing. This is the thing. It's a world of poverty and cheapness of life that I don't think you and I could even comprehend. You know? There's a big difference between the father who hasn't been able to feed his kids in a week and puts a child on the internet and a paedophile dad who abuses his kid and sells the content. It's a horrible discussion. Who wants to have this discussion? But there's a difference in that. And there's a difference in the circumstances, the mindsets, and the desires of those individuals who are effectively doing the same crime. Does that make sense? Is my brain broken? Because that's how it goes on. That's how it's the same with the serial killers. I was saying this to Phil the other day. It's the same with the serial killers. Like, take away all the ones who were abused. Take away all the ones who are mentally ill. Take away all the ones who witnessed their parents murder each other. And give me the ones that are exactly like you and me. Totally normal. Totally normal. But I'm into doing live streams and they're into killing hookers. Fascinating. Fascinating to me. You know, it's fascinating. But anyway, I digress. So this increase in child prostitution, and I mean, it's shocking enough when you find out, like I say, the ages of consent, the incest laws and all of this. Now, we're going to talk about one case, and it was a case that completely just changed France forever. And I'm going to show you this. So it was a campaign that was called Justice for Julie. Julie was a 13-year-old girl who accused 20 firemen of abusing her, gang abusing her. And I think out of the 20, there's been 3 of them have been charged with minor assault charges. None of them have faced rape. And this was the case. This was the case that prompted the legislation change and for there to be an age of consent in France. Why they picked 15 for the age of consent, I don't know. But effectively, if in order for this to be rape, the 13-year-old has to prove she never consented. She has to prove that she never consented. That's how the law worked. You know? So now the law is in place that any adult having sex with a 15-year-old in France is automatic rape, or 15 or younger is an automatic rape charge, which is what it's been in the UK for decades. You know, decades. We had an organization in the UK in the 70s that petitioned to have the legal age of consent in the UK lowered to 6. 6. I covered it in a documentary, Hope Dies Here. You'll get that on the website as well. And the whole nation went on a witch hunt to murder all the members of this group. That is the British public's reaction to that, okay? I'm not saying France's reaction to this was any different. But when you consider this was a young girl being raped by 20 people, and when we consider the fact that yesterday we looked at authors and individuals who openly talk about abusing children still being revered in the journalistic world and in the literacy world, there's a huge difference between that. Because I'm telling you now, those authors would not get away with talking the way that they've talked about kids. They wouldn't last 2 minutes here if they opened their mouth like that in the UK and most places around the world. So that to me is evidence of this condition, this mindset. And it's only really through the birth of social media, I believe, that we're now seeing change in places like this. Places that you would never expect that change needed to be had. Because it's France. So the alleged victim, known only as Julie, claims she was abused by the firefighters from different stations over 2 years after she was groomed by a man named Pierre. She claims to have met Pierre, who works at the Fire Brigade Paris, and then helped her during a severe anxiety attack when she was 13. 3 of the 20 men accused have admitted they had abused the girl, and however they claim they were consensual encounters. Can you imagine, right? Can you imagine? Your daughter's 13 and she consensually goes and bangs 20 firefighters who are all 20, 30 years old. Like, what world is that? What world up until last year was that okay? Tell me. And then you factor in all of the pedophile chic tones within advertising and fashion world, the literature that we covered yesterday. This is nothing short of these, not only these individuals, but these companies becoming a product, and the mindset makes the man factor applying to this is 100% accurate. And tomorrow, like I say, tomorrow we're going to cover the systems that allowed this to flourish, because the Catholic Church is nothing short of money, and money does a lot. So she claims that, she bombarded them with affectionate messages, all the rest of it. Could you imagine if in the big grooming cases that took place in England, if the grooming gang got away with it because the young girl became infatuated or thought these guys loved her? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So here we go. Justice at last. France passes the historic law setting the age of consent to 15 after 20 firefighters dodged rape charge for sex with 13-year-old girl. This was just last year, man. This was just last year. The company that owns Balenciaga is housed in this nation. It's part of the culture that allowed these individuals to flourish in a way where they can escape abusing a 13-year-old girl because she wasn't able to prove that she didn't consent. Now, I'm going to just play you something on the notion of predatory activity where consent is a factor and abuse takes place because an individual chooses to manipulate and groom individuals and put them in very, very dangerous situations. I'm going to play you the trailer for the up-and-coming documentary, the Decahegi documentary. I think this is a good point to play it because when I release this, there's one thing I want you all to keep in your mind. I don't know if it was a movie or a documentary, but I heard a statement where they said a young snake, an adolescent snake, is more dangerous than a fully developed snake or a grown-up snake because it hasn't yet learned to control its venom. And I believe that is exactly what we've seen in the career of this individual. Have a look, and I'll be back in a minute.
Hello, I'm Decca Heggie and I'm Maddie's famous friend. Well, she thinks I'm famous, but really I'm not. But I just want to say to all of Maddie's friends, yes, she is my friend. I am sitting in a house and we just had a cup of coffee. She's only leaking all this shit, you know, because I'm fucking getting her done for leaking Claire's law stuff, recording police officers, Dave. You're not going to believe what John's done a video about tonight on the criminal underworld, about paedophiles. You know for a fact he's having a dig at me, don't you?
The information to disclose to you is that labels from Mr. Shaw.
Fucking permit from me, right? You're the one that's walked away. No, you're not scared of me, but I'll tell you, get in your van, and fucking come up here then.
Sorry to hear that, Paranormal. I was just reading your post there. So in conclusion, Balenciaga, a product of their surroundings, this French lack-heartedness when it comes to content and relationships with children, the edginess of the Balenciaga campaign, and the fact that they're trying to hang someone out to dry for a small percentage of the issues raised by millions of people is offensive. It's Balenciaga's internal workings that need to answer for the issues, but all of them, from the fashion shows to the bizarre companies that their sister businesses own that we're going to touch on tomorrow. From having very, nods to very suspicious artwork and to slip in court case documents that concern child abuse cases. None of this was accidental. They just overstepped the mark. And whether this was a publicity stunt, whether this was them shoving it in our face, more has to be done to prevent companies like Balenciaga from getting away with this and furthering themselves after such damaging and normalizing images have been put out into the world. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Nothing worse than that. Sorry. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop talking about Balenciaga. I've got 9 minutes because I've got something I need to do at 10:30 that is super important. Now, the Necrodoc. So the Necrodoc is happening. I moved house, Phil moved house, and we've got a couple of interviews that we've got to do with some of the serial killers who are necros, basically. But yeah, I'll get back to that. That's going to be the first project next year is going to be the Necrodoc. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna roll a ciggy. Have we got any music? Where's the music? So yeah, I apologize that the stream was a bit all over the place this evening. At least we figured out what the problem was and we fixed it. I'm assuming since we fixed this, everything's been fine, right? I think I've had no warnings here. We'll be back with part 3 tomorrow night, everybody. 9 o'clock or 9:15. So just be ready. Plain sight, they hide in plain sight. You know it. You know it. And I think one of the streams that I'm going to do next week is new imagery that's been discovered once again within Disney. I'll stop ranting about this when these assholes stop doing this shit. How about that? How about that? How about that? How about that? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I do apologize. It was a bit of a shaky stream with having to pause and the connections and all the rest of it. Oh, I didn't get a notification. Make sure, go and just check now. Everyone just check now that you're subscribed with the bell on, and the bell on full or all or whatever it is. Because YouTube basically no longer give you alerts unless you've got the bell selected as all. Because why not? Why not make it fucking super difficult? Well, this is the thing. Like, you might not have the full bell because if you subscribed before the bells were in place, then you won't have selected the bell. This is the thing. See you later, Paranormal. Yeah, Hope Dies Here is on the website. There is a new version of Hope Dies Here. There's a lot of stuff that was meant to have happened by now that is all now happening next year because, you know, it's been an interesting 18 months. Oh, I appreciate that, K-Buck. I appreciate that a lot. Oh, the Discord's open apparently. Sweet. Well, good work. I don't mean that apparently in a what the fuck is happening? Why don't I know this is happening sense? I'm just saying, yeah, nice. Yeah, we're just coming to the end. Kayla, sorry. I've got somewhere that I need to be in 5 minutes. And yeah. Make sure you leave me a like as well. Leave a like, leave a comment. The comments will be on when this is a video. So come back and leave a comment. Go on yesterday's stream and please leave a comment. You've no idea how much liking, commenting, sharing, liking other people's comments, all of that interaction costs nothing. And I would really appreciate if you guys, I mean, even if you just take 5 minutes a week just to do that, it would be fantastic. That's kind of how I feel too. You know, I'm just so pleased. I'm just so pleased that everything is so good. You know, we're logged back into Twitch now. Yesterday we couldn't get logged into Twitch. We're back into Twitch. I'm hoping that at about midnight, I'm going to jump on Twitch for a little while after I've done what I need to do. So anybody that fancies joining me on on Twitch, if you go to projectroot.com, you will get the link. All the links are there. All the links are in the link tree. Support links are there. If you want to avoid giving YouTube any of your money, the links are there for on-screen support. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get going. Sorry, I sound like I'm stuttering my ass away here. I'm looking for something on the screen. And it's been a wee dick. There we go. Fucking asshole. All right. So listen, thank you everyone. Thank you for the mod. Thank you to the mods. And I love you guys. I sincerely love you all. And I'll see you all tomorrow night. I'll be on Discord before I jump on Twitch, and I hope to get to see you guys over there. And I'm really excited about the restart and, you know, the community and rebuilding and moving forward. So seriously, I hope you understand how much you and all of this means to me. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Down in the dungeon is all we know, where the shining light, we never go into the open. As far as you can see it, wasting there, a big bright destiny. Don't you feel like breaking free? Open your eyes, embrace what you see now. Don't you feel like cutting loose? Yeah, cutting loose, cutting loose. I'm alive, I do or die. My mind's stretched out on the canopy. My dreams getting bigger than you and me. I'm alive, I do or die. Taking the lead, now I'll never agree. My dreams getting bigger than you and me. I reach on the summit, calling for you. I close my eyes, can you feel it too? Don't wanna be alone when I got you. Escape with me, let me fall into you. Don't you feel like breaking free? Open your eyes, embrace what you see now. Don't you feel like cutting loose? Yeah, cutting loose, cutting loose. I'm alive, I do or die. My mind's stretched out on the canopy. My dreams getting bigger than you and me. I'm alive, I do or die. Taking the lead, now I'll never agree. My dreams getting bigger than you and me. I would die for you. I would die for you. I would die for you. I'm alive, I do or die. I'm alive, do or die. I'm alive.